Okay, you're on. Megan, tell us a little bit about what you were feeling when you first came to St. Aidan's.
I remember the first thing that happened when I arrived is someone handed me a large loaf of bread and then brought me inside the church, and it was to meet folks who had been talking about the Community of Travelers service. And I remember the first thought I had is that there were so many people who came to church here, because in a lot of the Lutheran churches there'll be between 15 and 40 people on a big Sunday, and there were 2 church services that had, you know, between 40 and 80 to 100 people who would come to them. And so I remember just thinking there were 1 million people who went to church here, and that they were very welcoming, and they all had buttons, lots of buttons, all over when you enter the church. And I remember when we were first doing the Community of Travelers service that Tommy was super nervous, like sweating bullets nervous, because he loves liturgy, and he writes these really beautiful poetic liturgies that go with communion, and it was a service that was very organic. And I had done 4 years of jazz vespers where I came up with a theme, and then jazz musicians brought 6 songs, and so it was a very like unscripted, playful service. So I just knew it was going to be fine. But Tommy was very, very nervous, and he went over the rules of what things you could do, what things you couldn't do. If you didn't say these words, it wouldn't be communion in an Episcopal worship space. And he was just very into like making sure everything was exactly perfect. And there is this beautiful moment about 15 minutes before the service when we just kind of like breathed and let it go, and it just all kind of came together perfectly between his kind of poetic prayers and my kind of way of interacting and engaging with kind of what was happening, and both of our kind of silliness that we bring to the space. And I think of it as bringing godly play to adults. And it was a perfect match between Tommy and myself to be able to play together and share bread and wine together. And
now that was a little while ago.
Yeah.
What about now?
So
reflections on now that stage is over now for you.
Yeah. So now at the church, it feels a lot like coming home, because between having done the Community of Travelers services for almost 2 years and doing a whole lot of Sunday morning services while Tommy was on sabbatical, I feel like it's one of few churches that I can go to and know almost every single person who's there. And like I'll be on the BART and there'll be someone from St. Aidan's who's saying hi, and I'll be in the grocery store and someone from St. Aidan's will be saying hi. And so I just feel like I've kind of become a part of this family, and not just in the way that some churches think, but I feel like the creativity and the artistry and the willingness to experiment is something that's really kind of pushed me to a new level as a pastor, to be creative and to bring all the parts of myself, all the artistic parts of myself to a worship service. And even when there were times when we would take parts of the Community of Travelers to the 8 o'clock or the 10 o'clock service, I'd always say, well, this might be a little far out there for you, but here's how we do it at the 5 o'clock service, which was trying to be intentionally provocative so people would come to it. And after every service, people would come up to me and say, well, you know, that's not very far out there for us. And so I feel like they kind of encouraged me to be my fullest self, and it's a very beautiful gift for someone who I started ministry kind of as an outsider in the Lutheran church, because I wasn't allowed to serve fully because gay and lesbian people weren't allowed to be fully pastors then. And to have a community that has, you know, that part of my life hasn't been an issue, but they wanted to pull out all of the diversities that were inside of myself and make them ways to enrich the worship service. And that's just a very beautiful gift, that it's a welcome on both sides of the communion table. So not only do all of the participants who come and sit in the chairs and watch the service get to be fully welcomed as who they are, but the pastors get to be fully welcomed as who they are.
They are, yeah.
And bring their own theologies and the things they're figuring out. And that's a beautiful gift, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
And now you're leaving.
Dun, dun, dun.
What's happening now for you in the future?
Yeah, so I am moving to Rochester, Minnesota on August 29th, and that's where my partner lives, and she'll be giving birth to her second child. She also has a son who's 7 named Alec, and so I'll be starting the family phase of my life. The full-time work that I do with the Welcome Ministry, feeding the homeless and hungry, will expand nationwide, and we're going to start being mentors for congregations around the country to teach them how to respond creatively to poverty in their neighborhood. And as a part of that journey, the congregations that I was a part of in San Francisco have changed my title to a missionary, to a missionary to the entire United States. And the way that has worked with St. Aidan's Episcopal is that I'll be the missionary to the community of travelers. And so the liturgies and the spirit of worship that we do here and the kind of bare bones of the structure will travel with me to whatever city I'm in, and I'll be going all over the country. And I believe they're going to put up a map here at St. Aidan's and put a little sticker at all of the cities where Community of Travelers has gone.
Wonderful.
And then Tommy and I are also going to plan pilgrimages for Community of Travelers who may have been to a worship service or who might have just done our online Bible studies. And we're going to invite them to come on pilgrimage to St. Aidan's in San Francisco and have reflection time where they can join the Mother Church and focus on a part of their life. So it's kind of in development, so it could be that there's people who are coming who want to learn about emerging church, and people who are coming who want to learn about how to embrace with fullness your own sexuality or gender and faith life. Or just people who are interested in coming to San Francisco for a while and want a church family who's going to love them and give them a loaf of bread when they come for the first time. So I'll be traveling, but I've already got 4 trips back to San Francisco before the end of the year, so you'll probably see me a bit.
Okay.
And the plan is that when I'm in San Francisco, we'll do Community of Travelers here. And
Great.
so Community of Travelers might pop up every once in a while. You just
right.
never know what's going to happen at St. Aidan's.
It's the same as ever, from
That's
that
right.
point of view.
That's
Godspeed.
Thank you.
We love you.
Well, and I love you all. It's fantastic.